Good morning. Good morning. It's funny, when I usually speak, I do the MC at the Chinese medical school graduation, and the podiums are always so tall. So the only thing that I found with Chinese medicine, it hasn't been able to make me tall, so it felt good to be able to raise this today. I hope you enjoyed that reading. If you don't know that book, it's up to you. It's pretty awesome. But even if you don't even want to read the book, just that preface alone has such a profound but simple message that you are so powerful beyond measure, that we tend to give up our power to people, things, constructs, food. And it's just a shift of perspective. What is your perspective? And that's what I thought about when Rev D asked me to speak. It's always a yes. But the theme this month is prayer, and a lot of us are doing praying, and it's really amazing to be changing our flow state throughout our day. In any moment when things aren't really flowing, you can stop for a second and do something. Activity. There's yin and yang, right? So anything can really be a prayer. Those words, that sound bath, that's a movement of consciousness. That's what we're talking about here. It's not complicated. Prayer and the word God can be triggered for people. But way before religion was this universal intelligence that's been forever. In Chinese medicine, we call it qi. It's this palpable force that is everywhere. It runs through you. It is you. And so when we go through life as a human, we tend to get stuck or stopped by what? Limiting beliefs, by phrases that have imprinted us from our parents. You know, my dad being a farmer, you got to work hard for your money. And I woke up at 28 and I said, gosh, I'm working hard for my money. And so what has framed you? And how can we be reminded in this moment that you have the power to shift that? It's really, really neat. And it's free. So this is a spiritual community that embraces the universal presence by any name. By any name. And that's what is really beautiful for me, to be able to come together in person or even live streaming. Community. You know, as a doctor, I've been kind of assessing from patients coming in, what's going on? What are people thinking about? What's laying on people's hearts right now? And how is it showing up in the physical? Right? And I wanted to share a few things about what's going on. And then we'll move into how prayer can shift and how you experience life. But right now, most Americans are turning to prescription meds. So we have about 50% of us right now are on prescription meds. That's an 85% increase since 1996. Okay? And people are, what? Attempting to feel good through consumerism. Right? People that, what we found in the study is that people who valued possessions as a way of valuing felt more lonely. And thinking about lonely, more than half of our meals right now are eaten alone. Over 1/3 of our households in America are owned by a single occupant. And we wonder why Facebook became so popular. We are starving and craving for connection. Right? We're craving that. Right now, clinically, we're seeing that loneliness is just a risk factor as cardiovascular disease. Okay? And this is why I'm glad we're here today. And I wanted to kind of define, you know, when we look at medical studies, define loneliness. What this means is you're not having daily face-to-face social interactions and an extended conversation with one person or spending quality time with family. So I encourage us to move through anything we need to move through to be present. So in Chinese medicine, we have a clock, a circadian clock. And what that means is that your qi flows through your meridians and different meridians every 2 hours. So I'll tell you why this is really good news. Because if you're going through your day and you're feeling stuck, you're going to have completely different chi available to you, completely different resources in a couple hours, which is great. That's good news. So let's take it a step further. You don't have to wait a couple hours, because we're going to talk about how prayer can shift you, can shift your consciousness, and can shift your state within minutes. But from a Chinese perspective, from an energy perspective, you have that resource available to you, which I really appreciate, and I'm grateful for. So, and the last thing I want to say about loneliness is that a lot of us love and use social media. It's a great way to connect, of course, but we also think that people that are on social media more contribute to loneliness. And the distinction in the clinical trial was perceived loneliness. And so the more people were on it, it wasn't the only factor for loneliness. So I want us to also know that. And then the last piece of it was they found that the less sleep people get when they don't feel rested, when you're not doing and being who you are in your daily life, when you're upright, you tend to do it at night, which means you're not really rested. Your soul's having to work on doing the things you're supposed to be doing during your day. So if you want to get deep sleep, soulful, restful sleep, then be who you were meant to be during the day. Then you'll be more fully engaged. So my question I want to ask you is, what are you individually experiencing right now? We all have different seasons of our life, different karma, different curriculum we're attracting for our own good. But we know it's our birthright to feel good. We know that we get to be happy. We get to be self-expressive. We get to have fun. We get to have authentic expression and intimate relationships. You get to have what you want. But the question I would ask for you, especially this week, is what form of prayer, and I want to talk about what that is, what form of prayer is going to be best for me in this moment to shift? Is it something on the physical? Is it something on the mental, emotional, spiritual? Because you really want to discern that. So because prayer is a movement of consciousness, you're changing your state. Sometimes it might be your mental state. Sometimes your emotional, your spiritual state. But what's the best way to do it on? So in Chinese medicine, we have Qigong. We might do some shaking. We might do some knocking, right? That's going to change my physical state, which will then change everything else. We know by now we're holistic entities, right? We're integrative beings. And so it's not one way. But the cool thing about prayer is that when you're speaking it, it's a sound bath. Just like we heard love washing over us, that sound bath is a feedback loop. So praying in your mind might be a little bit different than speaking it out into the ethers as a vibration. And and you inserting your intention, your vibratory field, digesting it as you're hearing it back into this matter, into this dimension. It's really profound. So I mentioned we're in the year of the pig. Or maybe I didn't. I thought I did. We're in the Chinese year of the pig. And what that means is it represents a certain energy that's available to us. And this is the year about sensuality, senses. So what feels good, right? The continue would be indulgence, so I don't want us to go over there. But the energy of the pig is like the laughing Buddha. Just think like pink cheeks on a pig, right? Pigs are happy. So this year is about your senses and what really is driving you to get your needs met to feeling good. And I want to talk about a sustainable feeling good, not a quick fix, okay? So pigs, they have a hunger to them. So you have to distinguish between a relationship resonance and an overstimulant, a sensory response. So for instance, taking a bath will feel good, right? Eating chocolate can feel good. Connecting with a friend, seeing a movie. There's so many things that can make you feel good. So the question this year that as Chinese doctors we pose to our to people is what do you resonate with and what are you consuming? Okay, because everything is consumption. People, thoughts, food, internet, everything is consumption. But what we don't want you to do is get stuck, over-consume, okay? So I was telling a few people, it's like, enjoy, get in your senses, like what feels good, eat what within reason, but enjoy the chocolate, but then every once in a while look up, because like the world is your oyster. But set an alarm clock, because we can tend to overindulge this year. But for those of you that are not in touch with the sensual part of your life, the tactile, being in awe of visual stimulation or physical stimulation or enjoying your food, this is the year to figure out what do you like and what you don't like. Because if you have stillness, if you get into stillness enough, you know what you like. And it's having that courage to go after that. So in this culture, I'm seeing that we look at the opposite of pleasure is pain, right? But I really feel like the opposite of pleasure is insecurity. It doesn't really allow us, our insecurities are not really allowing us to fully show up and receive pleasure. So it's not necessarily that pleasure-pain continuum. So if you're not able to enjoy your food or enjoy a touch from someone else or any kind of sensory, I want you to think about, where do I not feel like I'm connected to my body? Where am I not confident or feeling competent? To be able to really receive the amazing abundance of people, of the amazing food, especially in this county, the amazing connection, the offering that people want to give us. So this is what the year is about. It's about dropping into your body and asking, through my senses, all of them, even your sixth sense, how can I feel more pleasure? That's the pig energy. The hour and the clock is between 9 and 11 p.m. So what are we doing? We're ending our day. We're letting go. We're forgetting, right? We're getting comfy. It's sensual. A lot of people might take a bath to wash off their energy of the day. But it's kind of one of those things where you're getting in comfy clothes. It's pig energy. But what happens if you get to 11 p.m.? It's rat energy. Start thinking. So take the opportunity between 9 and 11 p.m. to get in your body, to slow down, right? To remember all the good things that happened that day. So being in touch with your internal clock and your internal rhythm, but also with the bigger circadian clock on how qi moves, it's going to usher and facilitate the best way to be in balance and in harmony with yourself. And it's all about feeling good. So I don't know if that's helpful or not. But I'd like to mention. So before I move into the different kinds of prayer, each year there's certain phrases, certain mantras that help us when we get stuck. And I wanted to share a few of them around pig year. So the first one is, it's a Chinese proverb. Pearls do not lie on the seashore. What do you have to do? You got to dive in for them, right? That's the first one. The second one is from Debashis Murda, and he says most suffering comes from the failure to adapt or resist change. That's the second, again, energy for pig year. Another Chinese proverb, and we feel this from our spiritual mind treatment, is that life is like an echo. What you send out comes back. Right? You're totally in charge of your thoughts, your words, what you're sending out into the ethers. People are going to remember how you made them feel, not what you did. Another Chinese proverb is, to keep your body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep your mind strong and clear. And I know this. And a couple more. So I love what Michael Jordan said, and this is part of the theme for this year, is talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships. And this is the connection. This is the, I am clear who I am and I need help. Who's my team? Who's my tribe? Who has the same vision for a better world through this, right? And then once you're clear, the people show up. So that's pig energy. And then I'll give you one more. Bernard Meitzer, I don't know if you guys know him, he says, when you forgive, you know you can change the past. You can't change the past, but you can change the future. So it's very different than dog energy. Dog energy was, who's my pack? Who am I going to be loyal to? Who's worthy of my attention? Pig energy, generosity, up and down to everybody. You're not going to double check who they are. You just give abundantly. That's the pig energy. Generosity, abundance, indulgence, like in the ways of feeling good in our sensory just because we can. Okay? So I find that sometimes these mantras are helpful, just like having a theme song for your year, something to shift your energy when you need it. And understanding that, yes, there's cycles of the planet. It's palpable. We can describe it, the nature of our economy, our politics. But there's also your particular world, your universe. What is that season? And what do you need to be focusing on? So you guys have seen the wheel of life, the different areas of your life that you can think about. Often I give patients this wheel to then assess 1 through 10, how are you doing? Let's check in, let's do a scan. So the 12 areas are, and I want you to just take a moment as I'm saying these, rate them. How am I doing? So first of all is your physical environment. I know Shannon might like this one, right? So your physical environment, your physical space. In Chinese medicine, it's about feng shui, declutter, right? It's about you're having a relationship with physical things. They look like physical, but they're still vibrating, right? The second thing is your mission. This could also be your career. How are you doing with your mission? How are you doing with your physical health, your body, your finances? What does it look like for your relationship with your family, your friends, your intimate relationship? What about the area of personal growth, consistent personal growth? Are you having fun? What does that look like? Social health, recreation. Spiritual health, this is why we're coming here together today. Emotional health, and then contribution, are you contributing? And then mental health. So we take a look at all those different areas, and how are you doing with that? Because in the areas that you have rated the lowest, that's the place that I always hope that you share with people that you care about. You know, I'm really struggling with this area. That's the place that I want you to love me the most right now. And that's the place that I'm going to start with. Because when you go deep in that one area, let's just say it's finances, every area is going to be changed and shifted when you've healed that, right? So that's the beautiful place. So instead of trying to, be scattered, Rev D talked about, overwhelm and that, a lot of things coming at us last week, multitasking. But it's about coming together, making sure all of your cells are on the same team. When we have this inner conflict on not knowing what to put our attention on, in medicine it's autoimmune. It's yourself attacking yourself. So one of the things we can do, especially in our spiritual life, is to think about, first of all, I'm powerful beyond measure. And if I can be anyone, then what's mine to be? Who am I to be and what's mine to do? Right? And then in order to fulfill my purpose, because you did sign up for this, then what do I need to, where in my life do I need to love more? Like madly, fiercely, for me to move out of my own way, to really just give your gifts freely. Because when you're in that flow, it's such a better ride. Magic starts to happen. You notice the rainbow. There's been so many rainbows lately. But you start noticing the beauty in just the simple things. And that's the gift. Because you get to. So when you're taking a bird's eye view of your life and you want to start fine-tuning and adjusting your experience, I wrote a few questions as a reminder. First is, are you on purpose? Are you serving greatly? What is your level of presence right now? What is your level of energy? Are you engaged? Are you living your truth? So one of the tricks or tips that I use is I do it every month where I look at my 30 days and I say, what are 3 spiritual qualities that I can live my life from? So right now, what I'm doing is I'm speaking to only what I know. No excuses are coming out of this mouth. And that's kind of funny, I'm forgetting the third one. No excuses, speaking to what I know. That's really interesting. Okay, that's the place I'm really going to have to focus on. Thank you for that gift. Thank you for that gift. The next thing is, am I rested? Am I hydrated? This is important. Am I demonstrating bold enthusiasm? Because this is the thing, is if you want to change the world, if you're on a mission, there's nothing like infectious, like bold enthusiasm. Yes, I'm helping world hunger. It's like, I want to feel you. I want to feel your passion. I mean, one of the reasons why I think Qigong is becoming more popular, than yoga eventually, is because it allows us to shift your energy within moments. Do you guys know that the energy drink business is like a multi-billion-dollar business? People are starving for energy. It is the one commodity that everybody wants. And we have access to this unlimited resource. We have unlimited access to resources, the sun. But it's within you, instead of looking for something outside of you like caffeine to rev you up. What about figuring out how to get that internal charge to be limitless? Yeah. I mean, first of all, it'll save you a lot of money. But it's one of those things where energy, if you don't have the energy, it's hard to show up for yourself, much less anyone else. So you got to start with that, right? So if you haven't tried Qigong, I definitely recommend it. But life can be difficult, and if you're tired, it feels a lot harder. Right? So, let's see, where do I want to go? Let's talk about the topic. That's a good idea. So, when I was thinking about the theme of the month, prayer, I didn't grow up in a church. I grew up on the beach on Cape Cod. My mother said to me, she felt like the best way for me to understand and have a relationship with God is in nature. And so every Sunday we would drive out, one of those old scouts on the beach, very similar to like Seacliff, like very expansive. And we would just be there as family. We'd cook breakfast. Sometimes other families would join us. My sister and I were gymnasts, so we would, round off back handsprings all the way down the beach. And I kind of felt jealous because my best friend was Catholic and she always went to school, she had to eat a cracker, there was all this stuff happening. But I was jealous because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I didn't know, like in hindsight now, I'm really grateful because my mom, she didn't grow up in a church either, but it was one of this idea of, she's right, because nature informs us. And if I can get to know myself and be happy in nature, then I can be happy with myself. And so I'm grateful for that. But I also realized that some people don't pray. And then I was thinking, why don't people pray? Because they think it has to look like a certain way or a certain thing. Or they hear someone pray and they say, I can't do that. So I just want to remind all of us that everything is a prayer. One of the first weeks I was at Interlake, I volunteered for what we called the multimedia ministry. And after service, we would give first-timers a CD. It was a great idea. So I was back in the other building, copying the CDs, on purpose, felt dutiful, really glad to serve. But I was all about action. I was all business. And Karen Elizabeth, who used to be here, said to me, girl, she goes, it's the consciousness that you run and embody while you're doing this is what counts. And then she kept walking. Because my head was down. And I knew when she said that to me, that was going to change my life. I knew. And I had to chew on it. And then I stood up. And the room's kind of small back there. And I was like, oh my God, she's right. It's not about what I'm doing. It's how I'm doing it. Same with prayer. Right? If prayer in its essence is just to shift our state so we can get on with why we're here, then you can do that in any way that makes sense to you, and that might change. So let me give you some examples. So, of course, prayer, speaking, getting into the flow, closing your eyes, going within, seeing what words come out. Emotions come through the arm, very different than typing, right? You could sit down and write a letter, a forgiveness letter, right to yourself. That's a prayer. You could find your power posture for the year, right? You guys know that changing your physiology changes your mood, your state. We have a gal in our community that does laughing yoga, laughing, smiling, right? That changes your vibratory state and your whole pattern and trajectory for the whole day. You can do some qigong. So I talked about knocking, shaking, jumping, right? You can move the physical to try to then move the emotional. There's aromatherapy, plants, the power of plants and flowers can really, and again, I don't want to talk about the specifics, but it changes the neurochemistry, the pathways in your brain. You can eat chocolate. Because what does chocolate do? It releases anandamide in the blood, which is a cannabinoid. And chocolate is very similar to prayer, to meditation. It's like the runner's high. Right? Yeah. You can visualize. You can light a candle. So looking at the flickering flames, that changes the process of digesting that visually. Of course, you can count your blessings, you can go for a walk, you can drink a green juice, any way to figure out how to get present to what is. A few other things is you can snuggle. They found that touching another human can really change your state, right? When two people, you can get into heart coherence. That's the work they're doing at HeartMath, right? You can do something nice for somebody else. Gosh, being blessed by blessing. I give this exercise to my students. I say, you have to give a $20 bill to someone and they can't know it's you, ever. And then they write about it. And every time when they write about it, they feel amazing. Amazing. Not to do something just for the sake of being seen. You can, of course, listen to a happy song, so I really want you to find that song for you. You can hang out with one of the four-leggeds or the two-winged. Getting a massage, of course, meditation, but one of the things is doing something new. I tell people all the time, the next time you're given a phone number, write it with the other hand. Or drive to work or school a different way. Or buy different foods, right? Listen to different music. Go to different kinds of events that you normally wouldn't go to, right? There's a lot of different things. Of course, you can watch or hear something inspirational, play a musical instrument, do art, take deep breaths. I see someone doing some EFT, emotional freedom technique. I mean, you could get acupuncture. I mean, there are so many things you can do and partake in as an activity to move your state. And the assessment that I want you to ask yourself is, in that moment where you're going through your life, you get stuck, do I need to move it on the physical level right now? Is that going to help me? Should I move my body? Is that going to help me move my state? Am I blocked mentally by a limiting belief? Let me use the power of my own word, my own voice, to remind myself the truth about who I am. Right? So there's so many available to you. And it all is a prayer. It all is a blessing to you to hold yourself, to give yourself what you need. Not something external. Just like one of the affirmations I wrote today. It starts with the internal process. That's how you change the outward appearance of your life that you see. So, I want you to do an exercise with me. So I'm going to say a phrase and I want you to respond back. You guys up for it?
Yeah.
All right. I am available for more good.
I am available for more good.
I am available for dynamic health and well-being.
I am available for dynamic health and well-being.
I am available for divine intelligence.
I am available for divine intelligence.
I am available for spiritual power.
I am available for spiritual power.
I am available for divine beauty.
I am available for divine beauty.
All of my needs are met.
All of my needs are met.
I accept.
I accept.
I feel it in my bones.
I feel it in my bones.
I say yes.
I say yes.
I am receptive and open.
I am receptive and open.
I'm committed.
I am committed.
I receive it.
I receive it.
Yes.
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 Thank you. So the last few things I just want to say before we end is that you guys know that our body is made of 90% water. You know the Japanese gentleman who was sending sounds and words to different water and it changes the shape. Right? So I was thinking about this. If we are 90% water, then every thought and everything we say is shaping us. And it's such a good reminder to realize, again, how powerful we are and how we have a choice. And when we don't feel our power, we can do so many things to get back into it. Okay? If we wake up and we do things in our day in the morning to set the stage for the day, like having a green juice or meditating or walking or doing your practice, it does set the course. But then something might trip us up, and it's how quickly. It's not if, it's when. And how quickly can I pivot? How quickly can I get back on board? And remember the Chinese rule. If you can't figure out how to do it with your own skill set of prayer or singing or all the things that we talked about today, tools, wait a couple hours. Because you're going to have a whole new set of resources available to you if you're open to it. So I know we're striving for a sense of connection. We're striving for more empathy, more communication, compassion, more authentic relationships. So I want to leave you with a couple questions. What are the changes, the pressures, the challenges in your life that are creating opportunities or problems? What are they? That's the first thing I want you to ask yourself. The second thing is, what are the consequences of me not moving into action? What are the consequences of me waiting a whole nother day or week to change my flow state? It's too expensive for the earth, for the planet, for generations to come. And what form of prayer is best to use in this moment to change my state? To remind me about the truth of who I am, to help me play my A game and playful. So everything is a prayer. And you think that when the outward manifestation of your prayer becomes true, you think that's answered prayer. No. No. I know now that's not. That's a confirmation, but the answered prayer is the movement in consciousness. That's the gratitude.